What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we're talking about those with no chin. Now in the sport of MMA, and especially in the UFC, it's difficult to get by without a chin. Now look, there are some people that have made it to the top level, the top of their divisions, and even become champion while having a suspect chin, but a lot of them get found out before they get to the top. They either get fraud checked, or maybe, they lose a title fight or any of those kind of things. And then they just routinely get knocked out over and over again. We call it getting chinned, if you don't know what that means, if you're for some reason retarded. But yeah, these fighters, they get chinned over and over and over again. It becomes not just a one-time occurrence, not just a two-time occurrence, but just like a common theme in their fights. And we've got 15 of them today. We're going to be talking about 15 of the worst chins in the UFC. Now look, this is past and present, so I'm not sticking to the theme of current fighters like I do in a lot of my videos. So we are going to be bringing back some memories, but let's get into it. Now, it would be remiss of me to not start off with Matt Schnell, No Chin Schnell himself. Now look, when I made my worst fighters, my making the worst fighter possible video, using just the worst attributes known to mankind, I did make the chin of Matt Schnell that attribute for him. So I said the chin of Matt Schnell is arguably the worst chin you could have in the UFC. And this guy, 5 of his 8 losses, I should say, have come by way of KO or TKO, and a lot of them have come recently too. Got KO'd by Steve Erceg, got KO'd by Matheus Nicolau, got subbed by Brandon Royval, got KO'd by Pantoja, got KO'd by Hector Sandoval, and he got TKO'd by Rob Font. So yeah, this guy has been getting finished left, right, and center, and it's become a very common theme recently. So yeah, Matt Schnell, definitely a bad chin. But let's move on to someone else. Now, next up on the no chin list is going to be JP Buys. Now, 4 of his 6 losses have come by way of TKO. But what makes it special is, his recent streak of 5 out of his last 6 fights have been losses, and 4 out of those 5 have been by TKO. So they're coming all recently. This ain't no bullshit on the regional scene. This is all UFC losses. He got KO'd in the first round by Marcus McGee, knocked down in that fight and just wobbled around until the ref called it. Against Cody Durden, he also got KO'd. Cody Durden is not even a striker, and he got KO'd by him in a minute. Against Montel Jackson, he did make it the decision, but he got knocked down 4 times. And Montel Jackson landed 25 significant strikes, and 4 of them were knockdowns. I'm looking at the stats now, and then he got knocked down and knocked out by Bruno Silva, and he knocked him down 3 times in that fight as well. So yeah, JP Buys really just displaying and he got chinned on the Contender Series too, but yeah, he is displaying one of the worst chins we've ever seen. I'm pretty sure he's retired. I think he just quit life after fucking Roman Dolidze was rooting his missus. But yeah, JP Buys, an unfortunate chin to say the least. Let's move on to someone else. Now, you saw him on the thumbnail. The list would not be complete without Cody Garbrandt, of course. 4 of his 6 losses by way of TKO or KO. And these aren't little ground and pound TKOs. These are actual fucking getting finished. TJ Dillashaw, obviously, in the first fight, then in the rematch again, got done quicker. He became retarded and swung in the pocket and got chinned quicker in the rematch. It's quite incredible how he did that. Then he lost to Pedro Munoz. And mind you, in the first Dillashaw fight, 2 knockdowns. Second Dillashaw fight, 2 knockdowns. Munoz fight, 1 knockdown, got finished in the first round. He beat Rafael Assunção. Then Rob Font actually goes the distance. He got beaten up pretty bad, but not actually dropped on the stats. Against Kai Kara-France, 2 knockdowns and a first round KO to go with it. And then yeah, Figgy fight, he actually didn't get completely chinned, which was surprising. But Cody Garbrandt has definitely displayed one of the worst chins in UFC history. Again, TJ Dillashaw, not saying he's a pipsqueak, not saying he's a guy that doesn't hit hard, but come on. Let's not be acting like getting TKO'd and KO'd by Pedro Munoz. And even Kai Kara-France is a good fighter, but he's not a guy that's chinning fools. And you're getting religiously chinned by these fighters. It's kind of tough. So yeah, Cody Garbrandt, no chin Garbrandt, as Peter Yan called him. Yeah, he's got no jaw. He's a glass jaw. He's a fucking glass jaw rat. Let's move on though to the next fighter. Now, Marlon Moraes. This is a sad case because Marlon Moraes has a record of 23-13, and a whopping 10 of those 13 losses at an astounding 77% clip have come by way of TKO or KO. And more astonishingly, even more impressively, this guy is on a 7-fight loss streak, and not only a 7-fight loss streak, he is on a 7-fight finish loss streak, and also 8 of his last 9 have come by way of TKO. Only that split decision robbery against Aldo is in there, preventing him from being on a 9-fight KO loss streak or 9-fight loss streak. So we'll start off, and this is crazy because before that, he had a split decision to a Sun Sao. These were his losses: split to a Sun Sao, subbed by a couple guys on the regional scene, and then some early TKOs back in the regional scene. And then apart from that, he went on a massive win streak, lost to a Sun Sao. Then he fights Cejudo, loses there. And then we're like, okay, he gassed out, whatever. Beats Aldo in a close one, nothing crazy there. But then gets spinning wheel kicked in the second round by Corey Sandhagen, finished off there. Then he goes around and loses to Rob Font by TKO in the first. Pretty tough. Then he fights Marab, almost finishes him in the first round, ends up losing. Not really like getting chinned by any means, but yeah, more of a case of his cardio giving out. Then he turns around, fights Song Yudong, KO'd in the first round brutally. Then he goes over to PFL. Now, normally, the move to PFL comes with success for UFC fighters, but no, he gets TKO'd in the third round in his first fight in the PFL. Then he gets TKO'd with leg kicks, to be fair, so didn't get chinned there. And then he goes back and then gets chinned by Gabriel Braga. So yeah, Magic Marlon Moraes. He's changed his name to fucking Marlon Glass fucking Moraes, Glass Chin Moraes, because yeah, that's a rough one. I did not know he was on a 7-fight TKO. Obviously, he's retired now, I hope. But a 7-fight finish TKO loss streak is crazy. And then 8 of his last 9 have been TKO losses. That's tough. Let's move on, though, to the next fighter. Now, this one I feel bad about, and I'm not going to kind of joke about him too much because he's a legend of the sport. But Frankie Edgar, and look, he's back in his prime. The chin was not an issue. I think the first time he actually got finished was by Brian Ortega, at least by strikes, I'm pretty sure. No, that's because he hasn't been subbed. So yeah, the first time he got finished was in 2018. But that's one of the one of the sad cases where they show a kind of granite chin or a solid chin for the most part. It gets cracked once and then it's wraps for him. So he got finished by Ortega in the first round. We've all seen that highlight. Then he beats Cub Swanson, loses to Holloway by decision. Then he gets finished by the Korean Zombie in the first round, beats Pedro Munoz by split decision. Then he loses by flying knee KO to Corey Sandhagen. Then he loses by front kick KO to Chito Vera. And then he loses by knee KO to Chris Gutierrez. This guy is allergic to lower body strikes. It's been all kicks. So fair enough. This is not like a case of he's getting dropped and finished by jabs. But it would be a lie to say that his chin did not wear out later on, as all chins do, to be honest, to be fair. But when I look at the record and I see 5 out of 11 losses coming by TKO, that's not that bad. But yeah, when I see 4 out of your last 5 fights in your career have been finish losses, you got to be on the list. So if you guys disagree, fair enough. I'm not saying he doesn't have a Cody Garbrandt chin. He's not getting just finished by wind. But yeah, he's been KO'd before, so it's tough. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the list is James Vick. Now, this one's tough because if you look at this guy's career and you look at his record, 6 losses, 5 of them by TKO. And his most recent fight was in 2021, and he got KO'd by Andre Fialho on the regional scene. That's tough. Before that, he got KO'd with an up kick by Nico Price, like literally one of 2 people in UFC history to get KO'd by an up kick. That's how you make history in the right way. Before that, it was the KO to Dan Hooker in the first round. Before that, it was a decision loss to Paul Felder. Before that, it was that meme-worthy KO against Gaethje, where his arms went up in the air and it looked like he almost went ooh, and then fell down. Couple wins in between there, but then back in 2016 was his KO. That was the first KO of his career, and that was against Beneil Dariush. So yeah, since then, it's been a rough road for James Vick. He's got no chin. He's one of the most memed kind of no-chin fighters. And just look at the man. He looks like someone that wouldn't have a chin. But yeah, an 83% TKO loss ratio for James Vick. It's tough. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. So next up on the list, we got Jamie Mullarkey. Now, he's standing at a very solid 75% KO loss ratio. 6 of 8 of his losses come by TKO or KO. So The fact that this guy's only 29 and makes it even worse because he's getting KO'd in what's meant to be his physical prime. So Mauricio Ruffy recently KO'd him. Look, Ruffy's very good, but again, he was getting wobbled by everything. Not saying Ruffy's bad, but I'm saying Malaki's got no chin. Before that, he got fucking finished by Nasrat Haqparast in a minute 40. Like, that's Nasrat Haqparast. That's the lightweight Kelvin Gastelum. You can't be getting finished by that man and making him look like a fucking good striker, like, respectfully. Before that, he got a robbery decision against McDessie. Before that, he got KO'd by fucking Muhammad Naimov. Before that, decision against Prado. Robbery decision win against Johnson. TKO loss to Jalen Turner. A couple wins in there. He spent some time without getting finished, but way back in the day, obviously, got KO'd by Volk. But yeah, it's the recent string here of these three. 3 out of his last 4 losses have been KO losses, and I think how many here? 4 out of his last 7 KO losses as well. So yeah, first round KO to Ruffy, first round KO to Haqparast, second round KO to Naimov, and then second round KO to Jalen Turner. Jamie Malaki's making himself into the Hall of Fame for lack of a chin, so good job to him. Keep it up. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Now, another no-chin all-star is Andre Fialho, one of the true founding fathers of the glass jaw. 7 of his 9 losses come by way of TKO KO. That's a very solid 78% KO loss ratio. Now, very similar, not quite, he hasn't quite outdone the GOAT status of Marlon Moraes with his 7-fight KO loss streak, but what he has done is come close with a 5-fight TKO or KO loss streak, and I'll read that out to you now. So, the first one of those losses was back at UFC 275 when he made Jake Matthews look like the best striker to ever walk the planet. And you guys remember, everyone remembers this. There were literal debates going on and like conversations about, who's making it further, Jack Della Maddalena or Jake Matthews, who's the better Aussie prospect, or geez, Jake Matthews versus a top 15 guy next, he smokes anyone, look at how he did against Andre Fialho. Because at this time, Fialho was staying pretty active. He'd already fought 3 times in 2022, coming off 2 TKO KO wins. But then, gets tuned up by Jake Matthews, makes him look like the fucking maestro of striking. Then he gets spinning wheel kicked by fucking Muslim Salikov. Then he gets head kick KO'd by Joaquin Buckley. Then he gets TKO'd by Tim Means. That's just rough. And then just recently, just a couple days ago even, he got KO'd in the first round on UAE Warriors on the regional scene. So yeah, very solid 78% KO loss ratio for Andre Fialho. Good stuff, mate. Keep it up. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Phil Hawes, you saw him in the thumbnail. He's a true pioneer of the no-chin game. This man standing at a whopping 83% KO loss ratio with only one of his losses being by not KO or TKO, and that was a submission. So this man, 100% finish loss ratio. That's what we love to see. More action fighters like him are needed. But let's dive into his recent streak of KOs, because he's on a 3-fight KO loss streak. I think he retired, I'm pretty sure, which is unfortunate. 3-fight KO loss streak, and then 4 out of his last 5 fights have been by TKO loss. Most recently, Bruno Ferreira chinned him in the first round. If you guys haven't seen my live stream reaction to that, go back to my Walker vs. Uncle live stream reaction. I think it'll be timestamped. If not, whatever, you can find it. But it was hilarious. We were laughing our heads off because I was like, he got wobbled by like the most nothing shot. And the way he got KO'd, he got punched and then he just died. It was the funniest shit. Before that, he got KO'd by punches against Ikram Alasquera. So this ain't you're getting fucking head kicked, right? Fair enough, you got fucking flying knee. Like, no, he got 1-2'd by Ikram and died. Then, before that, he lost to Tolidze. Now, look, he was on one leg because he basically got subbed and KO'd in one fight, in one round, mind you, as well. Very impressive stuff. So, KO lost to Tolidze there. Very brutal stuff. That's the photo in the thumbnail. Then he got that win against Darian Wynn, who's a midget, or Darren Wynn. I think that's who I'm not mistaken. And then before that, the KO loss to Chris Daukaus. That's when he had all this hype behind him. He had a decision win over Nasruddin Mavov. He beat Kyle Daukaus, who is also probably worth a mention on this list, I guess. And then back in the day also, on the Contender Series, he got KO'd by Julian Marquez. So yeah, really good stuff from Phil Hawes, truly pioneering the no-chin game. You know, when it has to happen, it can't be no pussy TKO shit. Can't be no like 10 punches needed for the ref to be like, yeah, maybe he's not really doing enough. No, you have to be fully unconscious, and that's what he's been against Fahea, against Ikram, against Dolidze, and I'm pretty sure against Curtis, if I'm not mistaken. He has been fully unconscious every time, so great stuff. Let's move on though to another fighter. Luke Rockhold is the next guy on the list. Again, much like Phil Hawes, those two, they're competing. They are on the Mount Rushmore, both sitting at an 83% KO loss ratio. 5 out of 6 of Luke Rockhold's losses have come by way of TKO or KO. It's great stuff. Now, he does have that decision against Costa. That was his only other loss that wasn't by finish. So fucking Costa ruined it. We could have been looking at a 100% KO loss ratio. But before that, obviously the brutal KO at the hands of Jan Blachowicz. Before that, the KO to Romero. Couple fights before that, the KO obviously to Bisping when he lost the belt. Take it back a couple years, you find that KO loss to Vitor Belfort. And way back in the day, he got KO'd by Tony Rabuklava. But yeah, those 3 recent ones that we all know about, Bisping, Romero, Blachowicz, those are the 3 that we know and love. Those are the 3 that you just see the memes of Luke Rockhold unconscious on the canvas. He's on the canvas. But yeah, those are the losses for Luke Rockhold that stick out. But yeah, still an 83% KO loss ratio. Great stuff. Good stuff for Luke Rockhold. Keep it up. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Now, Dominic Reyes is next up. Now, 75% KO loss ratio. Very solid. 3 out of 4 of his losses are by KO, TKO. He is on a 4-fight loss streak. Now, after the Jones fight, it went downhill, and we could be looking at a 4th KO loss and a 5th loss in a row, because he's fighting Dustin Jacoby in a couple weeks' time, and I do think he might get chinned. But let's just look at these losses. So, obviously, the KO against Blachowicz, that was rough. He got his title shot. If I'm not mistaken, he got the title shot right after the Jones fight because Jones left, and then he obviously got chinned. Then the Yuri KO. I mean, fair enough, anyone's going to get KO'd by a fucking spinning elbow from Yuri. But then he gets KO'd from a jab at the hands of Ryan Spann, and it was just rough. He was booked to fight Carlos Ulberg a couple months ago. That fight was booked for UFC 297, and he, yes, would have been brutally KO'd. So that would have been another one. But yeah, Dominic Reyes is a staple of the list. And again, it's not even like he got beaten up by Jones. He won that fight. Never before have I seen someone winning a fight and not taking that much damage do so much negatively to their chin. It's crazy. But yeah, Dominic Reyes, definitely a pioneer of the no-chin game. But to be fair, in the heavier weight classes, I'm not going to fault you as much. Like Yuri, Blachowicz, Spann, all big, powerful punches. But still, he is definitely, the chin is gone for sure. Let's move on though to another fighter. Now, Johnny Walker is next up on the list. And also, look, with Johnny Walker, it's actually not a crazy bad KO loss ratio. Only 63%, obviously more than half of our losses are coming by KO, TKO. But, so 5 out of 8, that's still a solid percentage. And he's fighting Ozdemir in a couple weeks' time. So if he loses that, we got another one to the list to, you know, bump that percentage up. But coming off that KO loss to Magomed, that was rough. You guys saw my reaction to that. If you watched my my 1 year of YouTube Q&A video, I chucked that in there. The KO, the meme KO. This is the one that really, even though he's been KO'd before this, the meme KO against Jamal Hill, that is really the one that got it started. Before that, couple fights ago, that loss to Corey Sandhagen, you know, there's levels when he was on a big win streak and then he got chinned by Corey. Ages ago, back in the regional scene, obviously the really goofy KO when he got fucking knocked out like 6 times in 8. That was the one, I think, in the second round, and the other one was in the 8th. I forget which one was which, but one was 18 seconds KO loss, and one was in the second round back in the day. But yeah, tough go for Johnny Walker. He's been getting the wrong end of the KOs recently. I mean, he gets a lot of them himself, but he's starting to get up there in terms of... He's a KO merchant, you know, 76% of his wins are coming by KO wins, and then 63% of his losses are by TKO. So this guy only wants fights ending by TKO, KO. So we love it. We love to see it. Good stuff, Johnny Walker. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Now, Chris Daukaus is next up on the list, and it's impressive stuff from him because I think, I forget who was higher, but Chris Daukaus rocking a mighty fine 86% KO loss ratio. Only one other loss that wasn't by TKO out of his 7 losses. So really good stuff. And that 4-fight TKO loss streak is really something to behold. And again, all by melanated opposition. So Chris Daukaus' chin is severely weakened when fighting people with a darker complexion than him. Khalil Roundtree KO in the first. Rosenstrike KO in the first. Blades KO in the second. Derek Lewis KO in the first. It's been a rough go. Before that, he got KO'd by some dude on the regional scene. And then way back in the day, also another KO on the regional scene. But that 4-fight recent KO loss streak is really brought out the Chris Daukaus memes, and it's tremendous stuff. But let's move on to another fighter. Now, Andrei Arlovski, he's a man that's never been known to have just the best chin known to man. 12 KO losses out of 23, so a 52% rate. Nothing crazy. We're not looking at no 80% rate, but when you have a bunch of losses, a few of them are going to come by decision. And obviously, he was at the top of the heavyweight division for a long time, but since then, when he now starts to fight those unranked guys that aren't that good, like he's booked to fight Martin Bidet, so he might get that KO loss number below 50%, but like Waldo Cortez Acosta, we were joking about that in my live stream, if you remember that. It was a tremendous moment. Someone timestamped it, so go back and rewatch it. We were just joking about historical events that Arlovski had been present for, but he got finished by Don'Tale Mayes. He got finished by Rosenstrike, got finished by Ngannou, got finished by Overeem, Stipe. So again, not losing to scrubs, but from what I've understood, again, I did not watch the sport back in 2005 because I wasn't born, but a lot of people do have Andrei Arlovski on that chinny list. He's definitely a fighter that has a bit of a suspect chin, but obviously fighting the unranked bums at heavyweight with no power is going to help you not rack up as many KO losses. But let's move on to another fighter. Last up, the 15th person on this list, we've got Alistair Overeem. His nickname is the Demolition Man, because he's getting demolished a whole lot, let's be honest. 15 out of 19 losses by TKO KO. That's a very solid 79% rate. And unlike Arlovski, who's also got a bunch of losses, like when you're nearing 20 losses in your career, you're expecting it to be like, you'll have some boring decisions in there. He'll have a couple submission losses, all this. But no, he's consistently getting chinned. It's great to see. But let's go through these KO losses, because there's a lot of them. Volkov, TKO. Rosenstrike KO, Blades TKO, Ngannou KO, Stipe KO, Rothwell TKO, Travis Brown KO, Antonio Silva KO. He had a big win streak going. That was back in the day. Sergey Karatinov KO loss, Shogun KO loss, Ricardo Arona TKO loss, TKO stoppage loss to Antonio Nogueira. Fabricio Verdum's submission, fair play. Another TKO loss to Shogun back in the day. Another a KO loss to Chuck Liddell. So yeah, and then back in the day, it was just a whole... Jesus Christ, this guy's record is a long one. Bobby Hoffman KO loss. These are way back. These are back in 2000. But you get the point. When he loses, it's by TKO KO. This man is chinny. And it's not like you could say, oh, heavyweights hit hard. It's like, yeah, they do, but Volkov doesn't really finish that many people. Actually, no, fair. He actually kind of does. But Volkov's not like the biggest fucking like one-shot power guy ever. Stipe, I clearly felt a tap. But yeah, that is the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Those are 15 fighters, in my opinion, that are extremely chinny. The glass jaws of the UFC, past and present. I'd like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. That's what we're talking about with the chin game. The emerging no-chin people, I salute you. Those ones that are going to just start getting chinned brutally many times in their career. I wish you good luck. But I'm going to leave you with this clip of me reacting to Phil Hawes getting KO'd. But yeah, peace out. Knee. Just land anything clean and he's going out. He's going out if you land anything clean. Another big... He's wobbling all over the place. Come on. Don't throw knees. Oh, he's out. He's out. Oh my god, what the fuck? There it is. That was so fucking funny. What the hell? I swear none of those were even landing clean, and then he just decided to be out cold.